Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my brand new sketchbook. So I'm starting a new sketchbook. A few days ago, I actually dropped into my local GameStop and I picked up this, which is a Buggy vinyl action figure as part of the Netflix live action show of One Piece. That's sort of interesting. What's even more interesting about that, though, is that I only paid $4.98 for this thing because it was a $5 Friday purchase. So that's pretty exciting, I guess, for something that I don't know if I care that much about that character. For bonus fun, though, I picked up another one of these pristine packs. This one is actually a One Piece card game. Never actually seen this before, so I'm going to open that up as well, if that'll even open nicely. Oh yeah, of course you won't open nicely. So yeah, I guess there's a card game. Let's see what we got here. Let's set that aside. Well, they're kind of neat. Okay, well, let's set those down. Actually, let's zoom in on them and then we'll go back out here in a moment. Ooh, ooh. Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah, cool. Spectacular. Another purpley haired person. Ooh, some shouting. What do we got here? Gakamara. That's pretty cool. Oops, there was one in behind there. What was that? Lugori. Cool. Nola, Super Serpent. Ooh. It's a get out of here card. Okay, where the wind blows. Pickles. What's this? It's a waste of human life. Wow. That looks a little bit like Shanks, but okay. And awesome. Anyway, so let us wait a second. Yeah, that's some awesome stuff going on there for a card game. I've never seen those before. So let me hop back out of this because that's not nearly as exciting as I wanted it to be. So there's a One Piece card game, and how cool is that? Anyway, so what I'm going to do here, start a new sketchbook. And I'm going to draw Buggy. It's a character that I don't really care that much about. So that was 3 minutes of just silliness going on there. Let's open up this inkwell. Let's see what we can do here. I first got introduced to One Piece probably in 2002. There was someone who asked me, hey, have you heard of this thing? And I said, well, yeah, but I've never actually spent any real time with it. So they lent me the first 10 manga of it, and it is really interesting. So it's been around for almost 30 years. The manga part has been around since like 1997, and then like the anime since 1999. Let's see what we can do with this, and maybe we can go sort of fast with it, but I'm going to kind of rough in a couple of things here and then maybe clean it up after. So some of you may or may not know this. Buggy and Shanks were part of the same crew at one time, and as such, they're familiar with each other. So that's not so bad, but Buggy really hates Shanks. And the reason for that is at one point, while Buggy was being, Buggy and kind of a scumbag, he ate the devil fruit, thinking that somehow Shanks was going to turn him in for stealing it. Now, the intention, I suppose, of wanting to steal this uh, fruit was to sell it and get his own crew. Anyway, the gum gum fruit actually, gum gum, let's call it the devil's fruit. The devil fruit actually gave him abilities that would allow him to be cut apart without actually causing him any real damage. That's an interesting sort of trait to have, I guess, for a pirate and, swashbuckling and that sort of thing. Um, but he also can't swim because of this as well. So, not great for a pirate to not be able to swim, especially when you're looking for treasure. So, he hates Shanks, and that is unfortunate. A product of hating Shanks so much, of course, is that this is Monkey D. Luffy's mentor, let's say, the one pirate that uh, Luffy really looks up to. So Buggy really doesn't like Luffy either. Anyway, what can I tell you about this character? Well, he's one of the 4 emperors of the New World. He is kind of the president of the Cross Guild. Um, so he's pretty powerful, I suppose, influential. Pirates in this era, they kind of judged their worth based on their wanted signs. So there's that, I suppose. I'm going to kind of get a little bit of this done a little bit differently. What else can I say about Buggy? Well, I already said he hates Shanks, doesn't care for Monkey D. Yeah, I think I already got most of that covered. He's kind of a scumbag. Yeah, I can't think of much else beyond that. The whole sort of point of what goes on with One Piece is to find this treasure at the end of the Grand Line on uh, what is referred to as, I believe, well, it's the last island, but I think they call it the Laugh Tale. And I'm secretly hoping that it just doesn't turn into kind of this comparable thing to Newhart, where, at the end of the series, and we're kind of in the last phase of it now, in the series, um, yeah, where it's all a dream, or, you know, they're all standing around at the end and there's a message that said, hey, hope you enjoyed the adventure. Look around, the people that are with you, that came through that adventure with you, that's the real treasure. I think there'll be some people that'll be disappointed if that goes down that way. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of funny, but we'll see, I guess. So they're winding it down after 30 years. They're winding it down. So I was going to go a little bit faster, but give it a go. The live action version, actually pretty good. The actor Jeff Ward, I would have known him, or I guess known to see him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this very well. I'm going kind of light with this just because my plan is to maybe add a little bit of color and then darken in a few of the areas as well. So, yeah. Oh, let's put this little thing on here. kind of funny when you think about bad people that know that they're bad people. I don't know if funny is the best way to sort of talk about that, but pirates, they don't really want people to mess around with them. So they use, symbolism, kind of like, well, let's say like a booby trap or whatever in Egyptian times. If you have enough superstition, that is a pretty good deterrent for some people not to rob your treasure. And I think pirates, in some way, would utilize that. So, Skull and Bones, the Jolly Roger, that kind of stuff would require that you don't mess around with this whatever thing. Anyway, I almost sound like I'm excited about doing this. I've said this probably more than a couple of times now. I don't like Buggy. Buggy to me, uh, well, I don't really like clowns very much for that matter either. Eh, I don't have a fear of them. I know people that don't like them very much. But this is an untrustworthy character. I'm going to do this a little bit differently, I think, as well. And I don't mean for this to seem spooky. I want this to seem like kind of fun. I already mentioned that he has this ability to separate himself without hurting himself. And for that reason, people kind of think he might be immortal. He's not immortal. He is, well, it's possible that he could, drown. It's possible that he could be burned, but he just can't be cut apart. So that's the ability that he kind of has. Because I don't have this super dark, yeah, well, whether or not you see it, I don't know. But I'm going to let his head float a little bit here. And do not be alarmed. In no way does this harm this character. So I want to do this one a little bit differently than I do a lot of my other sketchbook drawings. I'm going to give this one a little bit more sort of time, which I do once in a while. But for a character I don't like, it's kind of strange to do that, of course. Maybe it's because, let's dip the pen here. Maybe the hope is that you love to hate the character. He's just such a nuisance. Like when I was a kid, Boss Hog was one of those characters. Like he was just slimy and you really didn't like this guy. And, if you ever saw him in person, you'd probably scream at him and that kind of stuff. And, when you're a kid, you don't really think, well, it's just an actor, just doing whatever actors do, and played the character quite well. That's kind of how I feel about Buggy. Buggy is a great nuisance to me. Let's see here. I'm going to, you know what? Let's leave that just like that. And work my way down and around after. He wears kind of a fur trim coat. So I'm going to put some semblance of that And as some of you probably see or have seen, in my sketchbook, very rarely would you ever find me pre-pencil work. I think that's awesome to do, by the way. If you're being commissioned to do something, please do the pre-pencil work. I think it's very important if you have a client who's going to pay you to do something. You want your best work showing. But in my sketchbook, I'm not worried about, well, accuracy, any of that kind of stuff. It's not really my greatest concern. Accuracy is important, yes, but fun, that's what I want people to kind of involve themselves in when it comes to the sketchbook. Just have fun. Like, you don't have to make it so that your sketchbook is, I don't know, like I see people do sketchbook tours and it's almost like a portfolio, and it's everything's finished, and you know that these sketchbooks have like 120 pages and they're only showing you the best of. There's nothing wrong with just having the best of, but at the same time, make those mistakes. I think that's part of the fun. All right, that's enough rambling on about that, but I do think having a sketchbook is important, and using it just for kind of exercise. Admittedly, what I'm doing here and now is probably pretty close to just doing pencil work anyway. Let's see. He has a striped shirt. Now, with this, at the moment, I'm having him so that he wears the jacket as if it's a, well, kind of like a cape. So that's why it looks the way it does, hanging over the shoulder. Here, I'm going to have, because I let the cape jacket be opened up this way over here, I'll probably put an arm out. We'll see. Maybe I should just do that immediatement. Well, I think for fun we need to get out the bunny pen though first. Here it is, the great and fantastic bunny pen. Before I do that, let's zoom in on the face. And I'm going to kind of tap in a little bit of flesh tone so that that cross on his face kind of sticks out a little bit. And I'll darken that in after. But I want to sort of differentiate that, as I say. And we'll add a little bit more detail after the fact. So this might be amongst the closer things that you'll see me kind of almost penciling, I suppose, in my sketchbook. This is a new sketchbook page and all. So maybe this is a special treat. I don't know. Would I really call this a treat? I don't know about that. So right now this is just flesh tone, but not hyperactive, super duper flesh tone, just sort of tanned by the sea. And then we'll get out the bunny pen and we'll make it happen. Okay, so what I did down there is I just did a little bit on the neck, Right now we're focusing on this face. All right, bunny pen, let's do some stuff. I'm going to bring out red first because that is a dramatic color. And I'm going to do kind of swirling motions to start. And leave it kind of light in one color. I'm not going to add extra color to this. I'm just going to let it be a red nose. I'm sure most of you know this. This is actually Buggy's nose. This is not a prosthetic. It's not a fake nose. This is really the nose of Buggy. Now we're going to do the red lips because that's part of the clowny motif. I think I might have started talking about the actor that plays Buggy in the Netflix show. I think he does a fantastic job. I believe his name is Jeff Ward. And in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he is the grandson of Fitzsimmons. And when you hear that being said, well, it's actually a duo. It's two different people, but it sounds like a singular person because when you mention one, you're probably talking about both of them. Gemma and Leo. Anyway, just a little bit of rambling on there. So I'm working the red here. Let's do this little thing in the nose here. That's kind of the main group of what I want red to be. Next, although it doesn't matter, I'm just going to zoom in the gum line, which most people are not really going to notice, because unless I mention it, I guess. Gums, tongue, the uvula will just become a, that hangy ball thing is called a uvula. The top of the neck down here, I'm going to let that be pinkish. He will shed no blood though, so it's basically a cut ham over here for this guy. Oh, Buggy. What else do we need to? You know what? This is a fun effect. I'm just going to add a little bit in here. No one's really going to notice it, but I'll notice it. Next, I like this blue. The bunny pen is a fantastic instrument. I recommend that you get a bunny pen. When you can have access to 10 colors in one pen, that's one of the greatest things ever for somebody that just likes to doodle, so I recommend it. I don't know if you'll get a pen as cool as the bunny pen, but maybe you will. Next, you know what? I have the blue, so let's take care of some of this. I'm gonna put a couple little squiggles of hair. Some of it will have just because it seems like it's funny. Let's have a little couple down here too. But the vast majority of the hair of Buggy comes out of his hat. Now, this type of hat is worn by naval personnel of the times, say going back 300 years, almost 300 years. I think its origin is Spanish and then adopted by the French. It's referred to as a tricorn, or I do believe that's what they're called. In my mind, I picture the Three Musketeers wearing them. So there's that. Where are we at here? 26 minutes? Okay. Let's do some more on this side over here. Now, this is an unusual way to do this. I more than realize that, mainly because you don't usually throw color in before you finish the penciling. But since I'm not penciling, I can kind of do as I want. And the vast majority of this is just going to be silliness. So there we go. All right. Let's go orange. As the hat is orange, we'll do a kind of surround of the symbol of the clown and cross bones, the skull of a clown. I think the purpose of the hat is to keep water off your back. Almost like a gutter system for your hat. It would just sort of channel it away from your head. Let's see. Try to make it a little bit darker here as it's folded and pinned. And then a little something like that. Just heading down here for a moment. I'm going to throw a little bit of this orange on this jacket. Same on this side. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of Buggy. Who's your favorite? I mean, other than Luffy, of course. You know, when you think of the Straw Hat Gang or the Straw Hat Crew, you know, is Zoro your favorite? Is Nami your favorite? You know, Sanji, Chopper, Frankie, Brooke, Usopp, or even, well, Robin. Let's see here. I think let's go with this purple for this scarf. I get a kick out of the way sometimes faces get really askew in anime. It's not something that when I draw things that I I try to work that in. You know, it's not like, but I enjoy it. It's not something that I would kind of aim at drawing myself. So I get a kick out of seeing it. So if you had watched the K-pop Demon Hunters, there's a scene where two of the characters are having a little chat and their faces go a little bit wacky. Anyway, I get a kick out of that kind of stuff. It's like super unnecessarily emotional faces. And I'm sure there's a name for that. But it's funny. Now, I'm not going super rich with these colors. Red for this color. Red for the collar of this t-shirt. And down here as well, but I have to figure out if I am going to put like something on this side, so I'll figure that out soon enough, or just leave it alone. And yeah, all right, well, now the next step, since I just kind of roughed in the colors, I'm going to bring out my pen here. Now it's funny, this treasure, this one-piece treasure, if you find it, you become king of the pirates. And pirates, as I may have hinted towards, they are basically dirt bags. That's a terrible thing to say, but they, when I was a kid, Police Academy movies were kind of like a big deal to watch. Honestly, for mature audiences, but you know, when you're a kid, I don't know how you got your uncles or whoever to let you watch this stuff, but yeah, some of the bad guys, they were referred to as dirt bags, and that just sort of stuck in your head as a kid. It's kind of funny. Right now I'm just adding in detail over the top of the color that I kind of worked in beforehand. It's an unusual thing to have marked on your face, to have crossbones on your face. As I said, he's a powerful individual. I mean, sword fights don't really matter, but he's good with swords, though. That's the other thing. But he's pretty much impervious to any damage that you could do with a sword. So that is interesting. Let's see if we can do something with these teeth. Now the bottom row. Some of those went a little funny. fill in a little bit. Okay. As I said, this isn't the normal way to do this kind of thing. But this ink is very kind of picky. I think there's a possibility that I was thinking a little bit about the actor that plays Buggy, because I can almost see a little bit of that resemblance in this face. Not perfectly, though. So Jeff Ward. Let's go with a little bit of stubble. So yeah, I do wonder what we're going to get when it's all over. If it's going to be a, treasure your friends and adventure instead of a treasure, will there be time jumps? Yeah, I don't know. It could be interesting how it all ends. Let's see. I believe Buggy's wanted signs. I think he's actually worth more than Luffy. Not by lots, but I mean, when you're in the billions of berries, I believe he's 3.1 something, and Luffy is just a solid 3. So, as I would have said, they value themselves a lot based on how much they're worth bounty-wise. So in his mind, I'm sure he's happy to be worth more. What are we at here? Just under 40 minutes. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to get this bandana tucked into this hat just a little bit too. And we'll try to do some fabric-like illusions by creating unnecessary creases in it. Like so. Some of the dark lines don't need to be super dark. Now let's go a little bit here on this coat. Oh, let's move to the coat and put this away for a moment. Let's get out this pen. Use the green on these shoulder embellishments. just sort of do like a little draw down. Same on this side. Although secretly the way I'm doing this is, like I said, it's not meant to be super rich colors. It's just the fun. Now, yellow. Look at that bunny pen just living life. Good on you, buddy. Good on you. Do it on this side. Just dragging a little bit of that ink around, which is fine. I'll let that kind of move over a little bit. Let's darken in some of this tie. Or scarf. Let's call it a scarf because, you know, tie sounds so corporate. And Buggy, even though he's kind of a king, probably doesn't really want that formality. Maybe he does. I don't know. Buggy and I don't talk. And I don't really know what we'd say if we talked. Would I let him know that I don't like him? Probably not. Because he is ruthless. I think that's the secret with that guy and his power. People probably don't tell him what they think of him, so they don't have to get in sword fights with him. A guy who can't be hurt by swords. So let's work on the little ham that we got going here. T-shirt. And let's make sure that the fuzziness of this fur-lined coat makes sense. More on this side. So we're at 45 minutes. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with this part of the coat here. As I left a space for a hand. Oh, for these tassels. Or I guess we could call them groupings of French fries. That seems like fun. Have one just out like that, sure. So yes, Buggy. Buggy is a character. An unfortunate character. Who rules with fear. And he is what you'd expect pirates to be like, really. I'm going to add a little bit more blue darkness around here. Just let that kind of fill in a little bit. A little bit down there. A little bit more as if he has sideburns. A little more spill out. For his beautiful blue hair. Just living his life out here in the wild Grand Line. Laughing it up as only Buggy can. Okay. Again, I hope that isn't too spooky, but you know, clowns are very much that. I think one of the reasons why people don't really enjoy clowns very much is because you don't always know their intentions. You know, from a distance you see somebody that has a painted on smile. Well, you may not know it's painted on and you just might think, oh, well, they're happy to see me. Well, they may not be happy to see you. You get a little bit closer and it's just like, well, they got a frown going on there. But they looked happy. It's really kind of too bad. It's an art form. And they're also part of safety for, you know, the rodeo, for example. It's a pretty serious thing to be a clown. So I guess respect them as much as you can. And hopefully they're not just dumping big buckets of, I don't know, confetti on you. Now, I will add a few other things to this, but I think I'm going to let this wind down. Even though it is the first page in my new sketchbook, I don't know if it's really necessary to have a 4-hour drawing to start it off. We're getting closer to Inktober, so keep that in mind. Let's back this out a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. And yeah, I should add, I'm in no way sponsored by the folks at GameStop. I drop in there, I buy fun stuff, and that's how that goes. So they got fun stuff. I'm just going to twist out a few more of these chinny chin hairs. Throw in a little bit more shade. I'm going to cheat in some eyebrows. It's got to be a rough thing, you know, to maintain your makeup. So I wonder if, just for ease of getting, you know, stuff done, would it be face tattoos? And maybe. I think the final thing that I'm going to do here is, oh, you know what? I got to do something with that space. I think I'm just going to, ooh, we don't want blue there. Let's go with red, of course. We'll just finish off the stripe. I was going to have a disconnected hand. Let's fill this in. Have another stripe beginning down here. We'll let the, oops, the purple of the tie extend in roughness as well, to show that the image could possibly go further. Wiggle in a little bit more. All right. Now we're going to do kind of the final thing here. So we'll zoom in a little bit here. And using semi-elegant cursive writing, go back over. So yes, I think it's important to keep cursive writing alive because, well, not just because I went through the hassle of learning it, but I think it is an art form. And I think it's wonderful. Now, how will I do this part? The shakiness. I'm going to need more ink on that. Although I don't have a problem with what I'm doing here, when I was a kid, the concept of writing the word peace, of course, there's two different ways to spell it, but the one where you would want to separate something or to have a part of something, I always think of pie, as in a piece of pie. And that was how I differentiated the two. Sort of like, there's three main ways to spell there. T-H-E-I-R, T-H-E-R-E. Did I mess that up? And T-H-Y apostrophe R-E. There's little tricks, I suppose, that I use from childhood, the same as like, lefty loosey, righty tighty, that kind of thing. All right, let's get rid of that shakiness. See if we can clean that up a little bit. And then here, let us try a slightly larger M. But with this one, we're going to start a version of a little shake. And then it's funny. At one point, when this animation was just getting started, there was a great concern that in the computer world especially, that they weren't prepared for the year 2000. Now, I want you to imagine writing a check. I know that doesn't really exist anymore either, but in computers, the century and I guess you could say, well, the marking point, so that let's call them the decade and century or the millennium mark, the 19 was sort of permanently left in place. So the fear was, and that's in the programming, that when the year 2000 came around, that they were going to end up with a program that would reset to 1900. This was a big concern, and they referred to this as the Y2K bug. And yeah, that was a big fear. Like power plants, major banks, if they had an old computer system, this was part of the fear that they had, that everything was going to reset, and we're going to fall into some kind of turmoil. So they got to work on this a few years in advance. It's funny, they didn't see this coming, but they also didn't expect people to hold on to some of these computers as long as they did and run infrastructure from them. So the Y2K bug, that was fun. Big concern though. So just kind of making a little ugly way of writing Buggy, kind of a Y2K bug thing going on. All right, I think that's it. I don't think I need to go any further than that. He's kind of spooky. Anyway, well, thanks for hanging out. I may or may not add a little bit more to this at some point, or maybe at some point I may actually do one of these a little bit more, I don't know, professional, but we'll see. But it's just for my sketchbook right now, and that is kind of the point of it. All right then, folks, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay, ciao for now.